So I know I've been working on the rear rack for this truck, but I also wanted to come up with a front rack rather than just like a pool noodle or something for the cab roof. This is an old Yakima crossbar, designed for an entirely different vehicle. Wouldn't work with this vehicle. Picked it up for free and had to figure out how to mount it. Well, Yakima, they have these screw-in anchors that had brackets that clipped into the rails, but my truck isn't shaped right. So I had to come up with another thing. So I went back to my idea from the hood loops, and this is the end of a seat belt. Believe it or not, it's a shoulder belt from an airplane. And what I did is they come down here and then up underneath here. I'll show you on the other side. There's 3 bolts that anchor this bracket. This is what the rear door latches into when it's shut, and then the front door anchors into the rear door. There's 3 bolts that this goes into. The center bolt, I melted a hole in the seat belt, put a bolt with a large head in there to hold this, and then if you bolt this down, because this is just a threaded block that this tightens into, that will put tension on this and lock this in place. So I've got to set the other anchor up right now. I got this end done last night. I'll show you how I do it. So this is the basic setup. I got the strap, I got my bolt, and the first thing you do is you take the weather stripping down on the door frame. This is if you have a Frontier. Other vehicles go together about the same way though, I know that. And then it's just a matter of pulling this plastic trim that's around the actual latch down so that it comes free. And then you got to go around to the inside. And this cover actually comes off fairly easily because that's an airbag right there, which is one of the things you want to make sure you're not interfering with the airbag when you do this. But if you can see, those 3 bolts, those are what that bracket that the door latches into are anchored to. So I'm going to take out this bolt right here and have this seat belt attached to that. Now I'm going to do it under the airbag and through the loop so that it doesn't interfere with anything. And when it's disconnected, I can just hang it straight down here inside the cab, and it will just hang here and not interfere with anything either. So it will be inside out of the way. Very similar to how I do the hood loops, so that, like right now on my truck, I have hood loops, but they're tucked under the hood out of sight, so you can't see them. So just showing you how it's run down underneath. I have it run through the loop in the back and then up behind the airbag here, and then I just got to simply locate and mark on the seatbelt where I want to melt the hole, so I know that I have the right length. The nice thing is with these Yakima bars, the legs float pretty easily. There's a latch you undo and you can move them around. So if these end up being too long and the bolts won't take up the slack, I can move the legs in a little bit and then I can start all over with the tension. I'll have to get it all set up where I want it, but it's nice to have that variable. So I'll be marking this and I'll be melting the hole. Okay, now for making the hole in the strap, I got my barbecue grill because I now have an electric stove, so I can't use that. And I have my strap here. Gotta heat the screwdriver up in the flame. First thing I want to do is I want to take the end of the seat belt and melt all the strands together so that it won't fray and come apart. You're not trying to set it on fire, you're just trying to melt everything so it has a good end. Now that is about what I want to see there. So then it's just a matter of holding the screwdriver in the flame long enough for it to get hot This is the same thing I showed in the hood loops that I put on my truck. I have the whole location marked that I want to use, at least the length. I'm going to center it. And then you just got to hold the screwdriver in the flame long enough. I wish I could find my soldering torch, because that's what I would really like to use with this, but I don't know where it is right now. We use it for lighting the wood stove during the winter time, and right now it apparently got put away with the stove stuff. So I'm gonna have to dig that out at some point. This is just quicker and easier because the grill is right here. So let's see if that's hot enough. It's starting to melt. Could be hotter, but we're getting close. When I actually will leave a mark on it, you know that it's getting close in temperature. So just keep heating the screwdriver up. This is just an old, I got a million of these straight blades. I think this came with like furniture or something to help you put it together, so I really don't care about it. And it's so cheap, you can see it's already bent. It's not very strong. It's something that was meant to be used once and maybe thrown away at that point. Top of the line quality Chinese tools. So let's try now. And there we go. And that really is all the hole I need to make, because I can put the shaft of the bolt through that and that will hold. Now, because I melted it as opposed to putting a grommet in like some people show, it's stronger because the strands are actually melted together around the hole as opposed to a grommet where you've cut them. So next thing we'll, so you can see the hole, yeah. Next thing we'll put the bolt in. So as you can see, bolt is just started in the hole, but that's the way you want it, so that it's actually threaded in. And that way, you know that it's holding good and tight, and it's much less likely to fray and tear and all that when there's tension under it. Seat belts are designed to stretch to a certain extent. That's part of the way they save you from injury. And really, if you've been in an accident, they should be thrown away. These are just old seat belts that came out of a van that we were stripping to make into a work van. All right, so I'm going with a bolt with a larger washer area, because that holds it much more securely. And then as I tighten this down, it may try and twist, but it didn't. That was nice. Nice and tight. This also keeps my doors from flying open in a crash. There we go. It's all anchored. It's installed in place. Now I just got to flip it up, put the bolt in, and we'll tighten it down. One other thing I'm going to do is that tab right there is going to get in the way of the strap sitting flush. So I'm going to cut that off so that there's just a straight line across the top of the hole. So with it installed, it will just simply hang down like that inside the cab. And then when I need it, take and feed this up through that slot and put it up to the carry bar. It'll crush in on the door seal a little, but here we get the door seal back in place, and just put the bolt in to that block on the carrier bar, and it will be secured in place. And then just simply, to put it out of the way, take the strap, fish it down through here again, and just like that, it'll just hang out of the way. So then for mounting and tightening, as far as getting it where I want it, it's just simply a matter of 13mm socket, because that's the size of the bolt heads, and tighten it down with a socket and ratchet until carry bar is tight. And of course, when you're doing this, you always want to go from one side to the other and not do it all on one. So now with both bolts tightened all the way down, this ain't going anywhere. Look at that, rocking the truck with it. So that'll be secure. and anything I tie to it will also be secure. So here we go, measuring from the ground up. And I would say those bars are looking straight across the top, 71 inches. So now I know how high I need to make the risers from my rear bar to have a nice level carry. So here we go underneath the hood, and we put the hood loop out, lower the hood down so that it holds it up like that. You can see there. Hopefully I can get the one out of this side here. Well, I'm gonna lift it up some more again. But that will allow me, anyways, I'll show you this. I can run my bow line down to the hood loop like that, and now I have a way to tie the boat off. So here you go, all loaded up and boat tied on. Bikes, some room for luggage and boat gear and whatever. And I just got to tighten up that bow line. It'll be ready to go. This front one is a shortened strap. It actually worked out to be the perfect length. It was actually